Hi guys, yesterday I made this amazing pho, which is Vietnamese beef and noodle soup, and I swear to God, it was just incredible. If this isn't the best dish that Vietnam has ever produced, then I need to go there and see what else they have. So it's basically a bowl of rice noodles topped with raw beef, spring onions, bean sprouts, and then topped with this beautiful, spicy Asian broth. This soup is not only incredibly delicious, but it's also really healthy. You'll see that I'm adding no oil or fat to the soup, and the beef that I'm using is really lean fillet steak. They eat this for breakfast, lunch and dinner in Vietnam, and if you think about it, when was the last time you saw a fat Vietnamese person? I'm guessing never. So to start off, you have to make that Asian beef broth, and if you want, you can boil beef bones and shin beef for hours and hours, or you can use 3 litres of shop-bought good beef stock. As that simmers away to the side, you're going to take another large saucepan and toast some dried spices. Start with 4 star anise, 2 10cm cinnamon sticks, and half a teaspoon of fennel seeds. Toast them for just about a minute until they become really aromatic. Then remove them from the heat, and next you add 300 grams of finely sliced shallots and about 60 grams of peeled and chopped ginger, and dry fry for about 10 minutes. Remember, there's no oil in this pan yet, so you need to be very careful that these won't burn. Stir them constantly until they're all toasted and nicely brown. You can see there that the bottom of the pan is starting to go brown. The term for that is called a frond, and that's all going to come away once the stock is added in a while. So once they've had 10 minutes, you add back in your toasted spices, followed by about a tablespoon of black peppercorns, about 8 cloves, 4 small carrots peeled and chopped, 2 sticks of celery roughly chopped as well, and 2 red onions roughly sliced. Then add in your beef stock and let it come to the boil. Allow boil for 10 minutes, then clamp the lid on and bring it back down to a simmer for a few hours. I made up this stock the night before, so I let it simmer for about 3 hours before I turned off the heat and let it alone for the rest of the night. The next day I brought it all back up to a gentle simmer before I passed it all through a fine mesh sieve. That's to get out all the spices and all the veg from it. They'll have left their flavour, but now you'll just have a clear, smooth broth. Now that the hard part's done, it's time to go and prepare your beef and your garnishes. So now take your fillet steak, this is 250 grams of it or thereabouts, and cut it as very finely as you can. I know fillet steak is such a luxurious and expensive ingredient. This piece alone cost me 13 euros, but it actually goes a really long way. This will feed maybe 4 or 5 people. By the way, if you're not confident with your knife skills or your knives even, you can totally ask your butcher to do this for you. I couldn't imagine your skills could be any worse than mine, but this knife that I'm using here is actually really sharp, so it's doing all the work for me. So now that that's done and all your fingers are still intact, you can set it aside and move on to your garnishes, which will only take a second. So I just prepared a few finger bowls here, one with chopped coriander, another with chopped basil, chopped mint and chopped green bird's eye chilies, and a few lime wedges in the centre. So just let people season their own soup with whatever herbs they want when they're served at the table. Next, chop up some spring onions. I have about 9 here, and I'm going to finely chop them, but I'm going to separate the white part from the green part. This is because we're going to add the white part to the stock as it's cooking, and we're going to just scatter the green part over the soup in the end. Now the last step is just to cook your noodles. I'm using 300 grams of dried rice noodles. These are 1 centimetre thick, and I'm just going to place them into some boiling water, turn off the heat and let them stand for 10 minutes before I strain them and assemble the soup. Now bring that stock back up to the boil. It has to be boiling because this is the only thing that's actually going to cook the beef. Add about 4 tablespoons of fish sauce. You can taste and adjust for seasoning later, and if it needs a bit more saltiness, you can add another splash of fish sauce. Now add the whiter parts of the spring onions. And once this has come to the boil and the noodles are strained, it's time to plate up. Do this by adding a good clump of rice noodles to a bowl, followed by just a few slices of that gorgeous raw fillet of beef. Sprinkle over the greener parts of the spring onion and a small scattering of bean sprouts. Fresh is really good, but I used canned, no big deal. Now ladle over that broth and watch the beef cook before your very eyes. I think using beef fillet here is really worth it because as I was eating it, it was just so incredibly melt in the mouth. It was beautiful. Then at the table, I just added the herbs myself. First a bit of mint, then coriander, then a good lot of basil, followed by a tiny bit of chili because I can't really take a whole lot of heat. Squeeze a lime and that's it. It's looking a bit like a swamp now, but it really was one of the nicest things that I've ever made, and it was definitely one of the healthiest as well. I mean, I think everyone should be eating this, but especially those who are trying to lose a bit of weight maybe, you know, this would just be perfect because it's really satisfying. It's actually very filling as well and just so tasty, as well as being really low calorie with no fat whatsoever. I still have to eat it with a fork though, like the ignorant Irishman that I am. I gave up on chopsticks a long time ago. That beef though, I mean, it was so melted in the mouth, so gorgeous. I really want another bowl of it. So that's it. You need to be doing this for yourself the next time you want to pare down on calories, and if you think it's a lot of hard work, the stock actually is a bit of hassle to make, but if you make a massive batch of it, you can always freeze it in the freezer and take it out every time you want a bowl of it. I really hope you liked this recipe. If you did, be sure to click the like and subscribe buttons below and check me out on social media, and for the full recipe go to my blog. The link is in the description to www.rookiecook.org.